As an editor, I get a front row seat to transformation. I watch stories sharpen, deepen, and finally reach the readers they were meant for. And that is seriously one of the greatest joys of my life. And one thing that I wish more writers understood is this: you do not need perfect conditions to tell the truth. You just need courage. Last week, I posted a video highlighting some of the nonfiction books that I've worked on. And the book that seemed to spark the most questions was From Innocence to Mafia by Alex Pedron. Now, this is a man who wrote me a letter from the Arizona Department of Corrections years back. And he asked me if I would help him write his book. So the interesting part of this was he would give his girlfriend the handwritten pages. His girlfriend would get them to me, and I would transcribe them page by page to a Word document, and then I'd edit them and arrange it in a structure that seemed to align with his vision. He had not even graduated middle school. And then his girlfriend would then bring those printouts to him in prison. So Alex, this book followed his path from childhood marked by poverty and dangerous neighborhoods to becoming involved with the Mexican Mafia and ultimately life as a drug kingpin. So it was framed as a reflection on the choices that shaped his life and as a warning to young people who may be headed down a similar road. He wanted to write it to his childhood self, and with the hope that it would reach other people that many of, all over the world, obviously, many people grow up in that same type of situation. So this book stayed with me because it reminded me that stories do not come from perfect writing. It's never going to be perfect, or perfect writing spaces or ideal timing. Sometimes they come from the hardest places, right? So they come from somebody determined to get the truth out no matter what it takes. That kind of effort is a reminder that the biggest barrier for many writers is not talent, it's also hesitation. And I think, this is also true in fiction too. Fiction from lived experiences is very popular, fiction based on real life. A book I wrote on like that is Purple Lotus. This is about an Indian woman who leaves Mangalore and starts over again in American South after finding herself trapped in an abusive marriage and a patriarchal system that tried to define her life for her. So it's a story of moving from desolation toward freedom. And it proves something I believe deeply, is that even when fiction invents the setting, the emotional truth is still lived truth. Writers pour out their fear, grief, hope, memory onto the page, and that vulnerability is really real and beautiful. So whether you're writing memoir or fiction, just know your story does not need to arrive perfectly. It just has to arrive at some point. So I would like to know, what part of your book are you most nervous to tell the truth about?